Friday morning, everybody. Welcome to another video, and this is obviously going to be a movie review, but in this case, I'm going to review the Stand miniseries. I finished this up yesterday, and it's really, really well done. There's 4 parts to it, and it doesn't waste any time picking up, especially the first part, which is all about the plague, and that is book 1 of The Stand. And part 1 is pretty terrifying because of what happens in the world. It's especially terrifying with today's times with COVID, but this starts off the strain called Captain Trips, which is basically a super flu that wipes out 99.4% of the world, and you start meeting the forces of good, and then you start meeting the forces of evil. So there's not much. Well, there's a lot going on in part 1, but there's a lot more going on in parts 2 and 3, so I'll get to those in a minute. But I think part 1 is definitely all about like character building and setting up the story. If you don't know what The Stand is about, then y'all watch the miniseries before you read the book, but this spoils quite a bit because the actual teleplay is actually written by Stephen King himself, so what better way to like write it off since the author writes the teleplay. But yeah, part 1 is called The Plague, and it's all about character building, and it sets up the story. Part 2 is entitled The Dreams, which the dreams are about Mother Abigail getting into the people's heads, and she tells them to come to her and to fight the forces of evil and Randall Flagg. I thought part 2 of this was probably one of the better parts, and there's a lot of action. There's a lot of emotion, but I really did like part 2, especially when Larry and Nadine cross paths for the first time. You think that Nadine Cross is actually good, but I'll get to her character arc here in a minute. But I think Larry Underwood is definitely one of my all-time favorite characters in this. I mean, he's just an average, ordinary musician who just gets caught in the middle of this epidemic, and he's a very, very good character. And then you also meet Stu Redman, you meet Glenn Bateman, Ralph Brentner, Tom Cullen, Mother Abigail, Franny Goldsmith. You pretty much meet all of everybody who is good, so really enjoyed part 2. Part 3 is where it really, really picks up, especially, well, yeah. Part 3 is entitled The Betrayal, and by that title you know something is definitely going to go down. So this is all about the events leading up to book 3, and it has like a bookend to book 2. But in The Betrayal, I'm going to go into some spoilers, so bear with me, but I definitely recommend watching the miniseries and reading the book. But anyway, The Betrayal has Harold Lauder and Nadine Cross. They blow up the committee's house, and Nick Andros dies, and Sue Stern dies, and quite a few other people. So it's got a pretty sad ending, especially when Mother Abigail returns from her pilgrimage from Las Vegas. She actually goes talk to Randall Flagg. She dies at the very end, like almost like comatose, but she tells Larry, Stu, Glenn, and Ralph to take their stand towards Randall Flagg, and that's literally how part 3 ends. Part 4 is called The Stand. The Stand wraps up this beautifully. It follows book 3 almost to a T. He barely even left anything out. I mean, I was like blown away at how well this followed book 3, but the 4 gentlemen, well, Larry, Ralph, and Glenn make it to Las Vegas, but they die at the very end. Sad. But Stu gets left behind. He actually falls in a ravine and breaks his leg, and he just fights to survive with Kojak. But Tom Cullen comes to his rescue, and you get a very, very fine ending. But there's also the fate of Larry, Glenn, and Ralph. Glenn gets shot in a jail cell by Lloyd Henreid, and it's pretty rough on how they handled that, but Larry and Ralph almost get crucified, but Trash Can Man, in a way, saves the day. He blows up all of Las Vegas with like an A-bomb. So basically you can say that Larry and Ralph are sacrificed, but Randall Flagg at the last minute transforms himself into a crow. So you don't know if he's dead or not. Obviously he's not dead, but yeah. As a whole, this miniseries is probably one of the best Stephen King miniseries I've seen, and I haven't seen that many. I've only seen probably It is what I can think of, but yeah, this really followed the book very well, and it's a definite checkout. So if you haven't seen The Stand, I definitely recommend it, even though I gave a lot of spoilers away, but that was a spoiler warning. But anyway, for our final grade, I'm going to give The Stand miniseries, I'm going to give it an A. So that's my review on The Stand. And I'm going to have to think of some more movies to watch in the near future. I might have some more of my favorite movies coming up, and I'll just do like a solo review on them. Or I can maybe film another god-awful terrible movies episode really soon. I actually have quite a few that I have in mind of doing, so that's all I got for you today. So stay awesome and watch those miniseries or movies, and have an awesome weekend. I'll talk to you later. Bye.